It is a journey. But what do you think about this color here, or this selection?
Those ones are a little outside even the creative range in my opinion. We're in the main vestibule on the first floor for residential tenants. We've started our drywall process on the inside here. This entire stairway and elevator shaft that's also in here is all a 2-hour fire suppression or fire rating. So what we did to achieve, part of what we did to achieve that was actually install a double layer of drywall here, and there's actually a double layer on the exterior as well. Moving into the space here, one of the first things that the tenants will see will be their mailbox setup. Our plan is to actually install it on this wall. We want it centered up between the corner to corner, and we actually want to put it about 24 inches off the wall. So we'll frame it about 24 inches off the wall. Obviously, this is one of those things that from a requirement standpoint, there's no requirements as far as where we put it. So if Eddie wants to switch locations or something like that, that's totally his prerogative. As far as the only specifications is that it does have to be at least between, I believe it has to be between 15 or 36 inches off the ground. And then besides that, it's pretty much any location or preference that you have with those is totally up to Eddie. So this is our elevator shaft. We've done a few things with it over the past 2 weeks. One is we kind of fixed some concrete issues on the floor here. So now we're pretty watertight. We'll probably end up waterproofing the inside of this pit with like a paint, like a waterproofing paint. But we've solved most of our issues in the bottom here. And we've got all of our problems fixed. So our sump pit, which is back here, we fixed that up. So that's good to go. As we look up, you can see we have scaffolding installed all the way up to the top. This is for the drywallers to actually start installing from the top down, and they'll also be doing a double layer of drywall inside this as well. Myself and my team, in preparation for these drywallers getting in here, we actually installed some elevator brackets, which you might be able to see. But there are basically 4 sets of them all the way to the top. And what'll happen is, if you want to follow me, what'll happen is actually these elevator rails here, these will actually get installed on those brackets. Now these rails don't carry any weight of the elevator. All they do is they're basically guidance rails for the elevator so that it doesn't move back and forth or it doesn't come off its track, basically. So they don't hold any weight, but they're just there to guide the elevator as it goes up and down and makes it stop. So we're kind of into the commercial space right now, and as you can see, we have our elevator delivered. So elevator is in pieces right now. Got about 8 pallets worth of material just for the elevator. And this stuff will all be installed by the elevator contractor. They'll come in here and they'll actually complete it in about 5 to 6 days, as long as there's no hiccups, which, anything about elevator contractors, they can be a little bit difficult to deal with. However, once we schedule them to come in and do it, then they should be able to do it smoothly in about 6 days. A couple requirements: they like to have permanent power in here, so we are still waiting on permanent power, which I'll talk about a little later. But then other than that, they'd be ready to go. As you saw, we're doing drywall right now in there. So but I just wanted to show some progress on the ceiling. Our ceiling is basically 3 layers of drywall plus something called an RC channel, which actually pulls the drywall away from the structural members and actually helps to prevent sound transmission. So the main purpose of adding so many layers of drywall is to help the sound transmission from this commercial space, which any noise and stuff like that will basically keep it from any sound from transferring into the residential units, which are above this first floor. So like I said, the progress has been steady moving along. They've still got a little bit of work as far as drywall hanging, but yeah, it's a full 3 layers of 5/8 drywall plus that RC channel. And Again, that's for, it does give us our fire rating of 2 hours, but it also provides a good sound transmission dampening effect as well. So over on the back here, you can see some of the stub ins for our future kitchen. So the grease duct, which is the center ductwork there, that is specifically for a kitchen hood. That'll help exhaust any kitchen fumes, grease, and stuff like that out of the building. On the right-hand side, you've got 3 gas lines. Those again are for future tenants of the space here on the first floor. Those can supply varying amounts of gas depending on what the necessity it calls for. So, and then on the far right here, or the far left, excuse me, is just a supply duct for fresh air. Or I might be wrong. I think it's a supply, or it could be an exhaust. I'm not 100% sure on that. We're on the back half of the back portion of the building currently. This wood chase that you see framed in on the back is covering all of our future gas that's coming into the first floor, the gas lines, the grease duct, and also the supply air for the first floor as well. So this basically encloses all of those things. So right now we've got it framed out, and then we're going to cover it with the sheet metal siding. So it's going to be the metal siding panel that covers this to give it a good finished look to match the rest of the building. And then on the bottom face of this shaft, we'll actually be installing some welded metal brackets that'll be powder coated to match the building as well. But that will add an element of structural support, but it'll also add kind of a decorative aspect to the building as well. So kind of giving two things at the same time for the building, just to tie it all together and make it look presentable and good.
So I am now at a point where I'm at my wit's end when it comes to carpet selections. We have had an opportunity to look at a plethora of samples and different colors, different textures, really trying to make sure that the carpet in the hallways resonates with the user base of this building that we're constructing, and also is tied into the overall character of the site as well. And I never realized just how hard it is to make a carpet selection on a commercial building such as what we're working on now, until now. I've had my opportunity to look through books, go to even the warehouse that sells different carpet and supplies different carpet from different brands, and it's been really one of the hardest things to make a decision on, because this is something that is going to greet the residents of this apartment every day. Anytime they're coming in, they're leaving, this is something that indirectly helps brighten their mood or potentially disrupts it in one format or another. So choosing the right color carpet has been one of the things that have been keeping me up at night. So working with the carpet supplier, or the floor supplier, Jeff, shout out to Jeff, we've been really going through a number of different samples, as you can see here. And these samples are pretty wild to more tame. They're pretty vast with regard to the type of patterns that we're kind of looking into. And in general, this is just something that we're wanting to make sure we get it right. So let me show you a couple of the samples that we decided to request, actual physical samples. And please don't laugh, because some of them are pretty bad. So we initially started off with these 2 samples, and nothing fancy about them. Really good at hiding dirt, but it didn't really add the type of character that I was looking for out of a hallway carpet, right? And so this kind of led me down a path of looking for something a little more radical when it comes to commercial carpet squares. And eventually, I actually went to the supplier and went through a few books and requested a pretty decent amount of samples. So the next sample I'll show you is this one. I mean, that's pretty radical, right? That's a pretty different design here that you probably wouldn't see in a modern building nowadays. This is more or less something out of a building from the 70s. And when I saw the sample, I didn't necessarily feel that way because the samples are 2x2 squares, 2 inches by 2 inches in terms of the size of the sample in the book. But once I actually received these larger squares, I realized just how hideous these or this color would be. And so that was a quick no at the end of the day when it comes to that color selection. Still wanted to kind of keep it a bit conservative with the color scheme at one point, and so kind of looking at something that would add a little splash of color to the overall mix of the carpet. And so kind of looked into this brand. This is by Interface, and Interface makes some pretty good carpet for commercial space. So we ended up looking at that and kind of diving a little deeper into their offerings, and we started asking ourselves, what about a little more color, right? What about a little more color? And that got us there. Still not radical compared to what I'm going to show you next. Eventually we found ourselves looking at squares like this, or planks like this.
Oh, you ain't certain again, all right.
Oh no, I am certain. So Ian has followed us throughout this overall journey of finding the right carpet selection, and
It's a journey.
it is a journey. But what do you think about this color here, or this selection?
Those
here?
ones are a little outside even the creative range in my opinion.
Yeah, so
It looks like a bowling alley or a casino.
Yeah, we went kind of radical with those, and not necessarily saying that. No, I am going to say it. Those are ugly. Those are ugly. Those are hideous. But then at that point, we decided to kind of tone it down a bit and go with something a little bit more conservative but modern, and that found us looking at this brand, which is Pat Craft, and they have some pretty neat patterns and colors. Has a bit of a gold tint to it all. What's up, Shane?
What's up, babe?
So with regard to this pattern, the bluish tones ultimately didn't really fit within the overall character of the site that we're constructing here. So back to the drawing board, looking at something that can hide the dirt, kind of inconspicuous with regard to an overall feel, and that obviously wouldn't work either. And then we came across this one, and this one feels right. So I'm just kind of showing you a bit of a sample or two of what we think we may go with to give the building and the hallways more specifically a little bit more character and charisma compared to what we've been showing you in the past. So more to come on that.